ओम।
शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सिन्दूरारुणविग्रहां त्रिनयनां माणिक्यमौलिस्फुरत्तारानायकशेखरां स्मितमुखीमापीनवक्षोरुहां पाणिभ्यां मलिपूर्णरत्नचषकं रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् परामम्बिकाम्। ॐ श्रीमाता श्रीमहाराज्ञी श्रीमत्सिंहासनेश्वरी चिदग्निकुण्डसम्भूता देवकार्यसमुद्यता। ॐ ध्यायेन् नित्यं महेशं रजतगिरिनिभं चारुचन्द्रावतंसं रत्नाकल्पोज्ज्वलाङ्गं परशुमृगवराभिहस्तं प्रसन्नं पद्मासीनं समन्तात् स्तुतममरगणैः व्याघ्रकृत्तिं वसानं विश्वाद्यं विश्वबीजं निखिलभयहरं पञ्चवक्त्रं त्रिनेत्रम् नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर्गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्।
धृतराष्ट्र उवाच। धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किं कुर्वत संजय। श्रीभगवानुवाच। क्लैब्यमास्मगमः पार्थ नैतत्त्वय्युपपद्यते क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्त्वोत्तिष्ठ परन्तप। अर्जुन उवाच। मदनुग्रहाय परमं गुह्यमध्यात्मसंज्ञितं यत्त्वयोक्तं वचस्तेन मोहोऽयं विगतो मम। मन्यसे यदि तच्छक्यं मया द्रष्टुमिति प्रभो योगेश्वर ततो मे त्वं दर्शयात्मानमव्ययम्। श्री भगवान उवाच। न तु मां शक्यसे द्रष्टुम् अनेनैव स्वचक्षुषा दिव्यं ददामि ते चक्षुः पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम्। संजय उवाच। एवमुक्त्वा ततो राजन् महायोगेश्वरो हरिः दर्शयामास पार्थाय परमं रूपमैश्वरम्। दिवि सूर्यसहस्रस्य भवेद्युगपदुत्थिता यदि भासदृशी सा स्याद् भासस्तस्य महात्मनः। ततः स विस्मयाविष्टो हृष्टरोमा धनञ्जयः प्रणम्य शिरसा देवं कृताञ्जलिर्भाषत। अर्जुन उवाच त्वमक्षरं परमं वेदितव्यं त्वमस्य विश्वस्य परं निधानम् त्वमव्ययः शाश्वतधर्मगोप्ता सनातनस्त्वं पुरुषो मतो मे। अनादिमध्यान्तमनन्तवीर्यम् अनन्तबाहुं शशिसूर्यनेत्रम् पश्यामि त्वां दीप्तहुताशवक्त्रं स्वतेजसा विश्वमिदं तपन्तम्। द्या वा पृथिव्योरिदमन्तरं हि व्याप्तं त्वयैकेन दिशश्च सर्वाः दृष्ट्वाद्भुतं रूपमुग्रं तवेदं लोकत्रयं प्रव्यथितं महात्मन्।
Very nice. Thank you, Shalabh. And welcome everyone. Today is Chaturthi of the Sharad Navratri, and hopefully you are enjoying the bliss of meditation daily. Already you can feel great delight. Every day meditation will go very smoothly because Devi is so accessible in these 9 days. So we have more delight and joy to come till most of next week, and of course culminating eventually in Sharad Purnima. So I hope you all enjoy this time. Where were we now? We had finished
19th verse.
19th. Okay, so now we are into Dhanam. Yes. So please, whoever is can read.
Yes. दातव्यमिति यद्दानं दीयते नुतकारिणे देशे काले च पात्रे च तद्दानं सात्विकं स्मृतम्।
Datavyam. There's actually a Tavya Aniya compound of in Sanskrit. It means has to be done. Tavya ending, and in some verbs it will come with Aniya, like Karaniya, Datavya. It must be done. Okay. It must be given. Datavyam iti. One must give is the meaning. Yad Danam, that gift which is made with the sense that it must be given. Diyate, yad danam diyate, that gift which is given, anupakarine, without the to the one who cannot make a return, who cannot make a return for it. Deshe kalecha patrecha, at the right time, at the right place, and to one who is deserving recipient. That danam satvikam, that gift is considered to be a sattvic gift. So sattvic charity is one offered to a person who is unable to make a return for it, or to one to whom, though competent to make a return, the gift has been offered without such consideration. At the right place means in places like Kurukshetra, etc. The right time, the junction of months and the like. Deshe punya Kurukshetrado kale sankrantyado patre cha shadanga vid veda parage. A Vedic scholar, a master of the Vedas with all their 6 limbs. Ityado, Vedangas, right? Vedam and Vedangam. Shadanga vidveda parag. Ityado, taddanam satvikam smritam. That is considered to be a sattvic gift. So, there are specified times. In all the pujas at the end, we see Upayana Danam. Brahmanas are supposed to be invited and given charity. But the basic idea is, and we will see the distinction between the Rajasic and the Tamasic. So maybe any questions on this point? So the point is that in our Shastras, it is enjoined that we must make gifts at certain times. So, for instance, we just finished Mahalya Paksh. So, during the Mahalya Paksh, it is very highly recommended to make gifts. At the time of the eclipses, whenever there is a Grahanam, Chandragrahanam or Suryagrahanam, very, very auspicious to make gifts. And here Bhagavan is saying, even at the Sankranti, Sankramanam is when the sun moves from one Rashi to another. So now October 16th, 17th, sun will move from Kanya Rashi to Tulam Rashi. So at those conjunctions, very good time to make gifts. On Amavasya day, we make gifts to the Brahmins, typically green plantain, rice, and also Hiranyadanam for the ancestors as Pitra Puja. Right? So at various occasions, of course, at all the samskaras, every samskar that's performed, there must be gift to the Brahmanas, right? So at all times. Now, what was the goal behind this was, in those days, the Brahmins had no other way of sustenance. Other than the king's gifts, they were not allowed to earn income in any way. So then it makes perfect sense, right? If I cannot earn any income, my only income is I know the Vedas and I must perform the rites for those who are desirous of, for those Yajamanas and others, right? So then without the gift, that whole system will collapse. Right? But now, of course, that's not the situation, right? I mean, there are luckily still a few priests affiliated with temples. So the role of the king has been taken over by the temple trusts. So they give some sustenance for them, which is good because they need some sustenance, right? Maybe not much, but to keep body and soul together. And then whoever Yajamanas are doing are giving whatever they can, right? But the system has changed, no doubt, somewhat. Nevertheless, this point is still very important, that having a respect for those who have mastered the Vedas and the Vedantas, who have sacrificed their life to continuing the study and tradition of Vedam and Vedanta is considered, that person is considered worthy of receiving sattvic gifts. Okay, next one, please. 21.
Yattu pratyupakarartham phalamuddishya va punah diyate cha parikrishtam taddanam rajasamskritam.
Very good. Yattu, and that one which prati upakarartham, in return expecting a favor. Okay. Phalam, fruit, uddishya, with that in mind. Va punaha. Right? Punaha, or again. Diyate cha pariklishtam, or the one that is given with the idea of gaining some advantage. That dhanam is said to be rajasic, is known to be rajasic. Sometimes my friend and I would joke that, especially in the time of the Navaratri, a lot of people will come and they give gifts. So everybody, particularly in the ladies, they will give a blouse piece or something. And there are so many blouse pieces. My friend used to joke, we should just set up an exchange because they're all going to come around back to you anyway. They should just have an exchange where you can go and pick the color. But I mean, not to make fun of that. This is okay. It's a nice tradition and all that. But in a sense, what is said here is, often we see, right? Gifts are given with an idea of a return, right? This is the normal way in Kali Yuga, right? And that, or when it is offered unwillingly, that is considered rajasic. A gift with yattu danam pratyupakarartham, with an expectation of return. Kaletu ayam mam prati upakarishyati. iti evam artham phalam va, will do a good turn to the giver of the gift, or hoping this gift will produce a favorable unseen result. Asya danasya me bhavishyati adrishtam iti tat uddishya punah diyate cha pariklishtam, that gift made regretfully to the accompaniment of such thinking, tad danam rajasam smritam. Kheda samyuktam, pariklishtam. So, okay, we have to give, this is quite unfortunately common in many Indian marriages. Like, oh no, that boy's family, girl's family, they're asking, we have to give, right? I mean, this is completely pointless. As Bhagavan has said in the Bhagavad Gita itself, right? This gift is useless. It's a Rajasic gift. Okay, what is the Tamasic gift? (22)
अदेशकाले यद्दानम् अपात्रेभ्यश्च दीयते असत्कृतमवज्ञातं तत्तामसमुदाहृतम्.
Right. Adeshakale, wrong place, wrong time. Yad danam, that gift. Apatrebhyah, to one not deserving also. Diyate, that is given. Asat kritam avagyatam, which is given in a bad way. But it is also given avagyatam, in ignorance actually. Tat tamasam udaharanam, that gift is said to be tamasic. A tamasic gift is what is improperly and insultingly offered at the wrong place and wrong time to undeserving recipients. Adesha iti, adesha kale, adeshe apunya deshe, mlecha ashuchi adi sankirne, unrighteous spot inhabited by barbarous, unclean people. Akale, the wrong time, is a period not known to favor accumulation of religious merit, such as the period of transition of the sun from aprakhyate sankrantyadi vishesha rahite, which is not corresponding to those. Apatrebhyah, the undeserving recipients are fools, robbers, etc. Murkha taskaradibyah deshadi sampattau, even if the place and time favor gift giving. Va asat kritam, it may be unaccompanied by priya vachanam, nice speech, pada prakshalanam, washing of feet, pujadi rahitam, without obeisance, etc. Avagyanam patra paribhav vayuktam, may be made insultingly. Yad danam tat tamasam udaharanam. This sort of gift giving is tamasic. Yajna dana tapa prabhritinam sad gunya karanaya ayam upadesha uchite. To enrich sacrifice, gifts, penance, etc. with excellences, the following counsel is offered. 23.
Om tatsaditi nirdesho brahmadastrividha smritaha brahmadastena vedascha yagyascha vihita pura.
Om tatsat iti nirdeshaha. It is held that reference to Brahman is Brahmanas trividaha smritaha, is threefold. Thus of yore, in old times, Pura, were fashioned the Brahmanas, Vedas, and sacrifices. Om Tatsat traditionally constitute the threefold designation of Brahman in the Vedantas, according to the knowers of Brahman. In this threefold manner were set up Brahmanas, Vedas, and sacrifices. Of yore is added to extol the designations. So, 24.
Tasmado mityudahritya yagnadana tapah kriyaha pravartante vidhanoktaha satatam brahmavadinam.
Beautiful. Therefore, always those who maintain the doctrine of Brahman commence ordained rites like sacrifices, gift giving, and penance after uttering the syllable Om. Tasmad Om iti udahritya Yajna Dana Tapakriyaha Pravartante. These three kind of actions, Yajnam, Danam, Tapam, they commence Vidhanoktaha in the proper way. Satatam, always. Brahmavadinam, those who maintain the doctrine of Brahman. Tasmad iti. 25, please.
तदित्यनभिसन्ध्याय फलं यज्ञतपः क्रियाः दानक्रियाश्च विविधाः क्रियन्ते मोक्षकाङ्क्षिभिः
Tad iti anabhisandhaya. Tat iti brahmabhidhanam ucharya. After uttering the word tat, denoting Brahman, and not desiring the fruits of works. Anabhisandhaya phalam. Yajna tapaha kriyaha. Sacrificial actions, penances, dana kriya, and gifts, including vividhaha kriyante moksha kankshibhi, desiring liberation without thought of rewards. So tat iti brahmabhidhanam ucharya anabhisandhaya cha yajnadi karmana phalam yajnatapakriyaha yajnakriyascha tapakriyascha yajnatapakriyaha danakriyaha cha vividhaha kshetra hiranya pradhanali adi lakshanaha. Kshetra is land, hiranya gold, adi having these characteristics. Kriyante, they do. Nirvartyante, by those who moksha kankshibhi, desirous of liberation. Moksharthibihi mumukshabhihi, those who are seekers of liberation. Om tat shabdayoho viniyogaha uktaha. Atha idanim sat shabdasya viniyogaha katyate. So the practical use of Om and Tat has been stated. Now follows the term, that of the term Sat. 26.
जी सद्भावे साधुभावे च सदित्येतत् प्रयुज्यते प्रशस्ते कर्मणि तथा सच्छब्दः पार्थ युज्यते.
Very good. Sadbhave, sadhubhave. The sadbhave, asataha sadbhave. The existence of something yet to be. The word sat is used to denote existence. And righteousness, sadhu, the goodness. Cha sad iti etat prayujyate. This is how it is used. The word sat is used to denote existence and righteousness. Prashaste karmani tatha sat shabdah partha yudhate, and is used to denote a noble deed. Sadbhave, asatha sadbhave. The existence of something yet to be, like the birth of a non-existent son, as well as the righteousness of one hitherto wicked, is denoted by the word Sat, the designation of Brahman. It is used, Arjuna, with reference to noble acts like marriage. Vivaha adaucha, that Sat Shabda Partha. Yujyate prayujyate. 27.
यज्ञे तपसि दाने च स्थितिः सदिति चोच्यते कर्म चैव तदर्थीयम् सदित्येवाभिधीयते.
Very good. Also, the Sat denote devotion to sacrifice. Yajne, tapasi in penance, dane in gift giving, chastitihi. Sat iti cha uchyate. An attraction or commitment to those three. Karma chaiva tadarthiyam, and work promoting all those is termed Sat. Devotion to the act of sacrifice, penance, and gift giving is also styled Sat by scholars. So too, work promoting those or dedicated to God, whose three designations constitute the present text, is again designated Sat. The idea is that non-sattvic, unmeritorious acts of sacrifice, penance, gift giving become meritorious and sattvic when they are preceded by the faithful utterance of these designations of Brahman. So in these activities, everything may be secured by the predominant virtue of faith. In all dhanam, after you prepared the tambulam and when it is offered to the priest, a little drop of water should be placed on that with the word Om Tat Sat. This is the proper way to give gift. And of course, then prostrating oneself. So right time, right place, like in a temple, right? Offering the gift to a person well versed with a drop of water, saying Om Tat Sat, and then when one does Namaskaram, then you obtain what is called Ashirvad, the blessing, right? And that's usually a sattvic blessing for our deepest good, right? So, तत्र च सर्वत्र श्रद्धा प्रधानतया सर्वं सम्पाद्यते यस्मात् तस्मात्. 28.
अश्रद्धया हुतं दत्तं तपस्तप्तं कृतं च यत् असद् इति उच्यते पार्थ न च तत्प्रेत्य नो इह.
Ashraddhaya hutam, that which is offered without shraddha, without devotion, without faith. Hutam dattam, tapaha taptam, or that dattam is a gift, whatever is given as a gift, whatever penances are done, kritam chayat, asad iti uchyate. So, hutam, sacrifice, dattam, given as a gift, performed, taptam, performed as a penance. Whatever is sacrificed, given as a gift, performed as a penance, or done, kritam chayat, without faith, asad iti uchyate. That which is done without shraddha is said asad. It is non-sat, it is non-existent literally. It is effective neither here nor hereafter. Nacha tat pretya na iha. So why pretya? Because the jiva takes with it its account of punya and papam to the next loka. So the reason we give dan here is that the notion is in the other lokas, life may be easier. Remember, we talked about Karna and his fate for not having given food, the significance of the Mahalya Paksha, right? All these dhanams are given for the felicity and facilitation of the ancestors going through Pitraloka, etc., right? Now remember, there are two paths that the jiva takes, the northern and the southern path. Correct? For those who follow the northern path, there is no trouble. Right? But for those who travel the southern path, then there has to be a progression. Right? And therefore, whether one travels the northern path or the southern path, they all follow. Those who are devout follow the practices. Right? So, iti Sri Mahabharate Shatasahasryam Samhitayam Vaiyasikyam Bhishma Parvani Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishnarjuna Samvade Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yogo Nama Saptadasho Adhyayah. Whatever is offered as oblation, given as gift to holy ones, etc., performed as penance or work accomplished, work of laudation, prostration, etc. Stuti, Namaskaradi, Tat Sarvam, Asat iti uchyate, if they are done without faith, for they fall outside the way leading to me. Mat prapti sadhana marga bhakhyatvat, O Partha. Asat iti uchyate. Though these may entail much labor, they prove futile after death as well as here. They have earned the censure of the righteous. Sadhubihi ninditatvat iti na api iha artham api pretya phalaya na cha tat bahulayasam api. Because they prove futile. Iti Srimat Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Govinda Bhagavat Pujyapada Shishya Srimad Shankara Bhagavata Kratau Srimad Bhagavad Gita Bhashye Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yogo Nama Saptadasho Adhyayah. So then Ashtadasho Adhyayah. liberation and renunciation. This is a long one. Moksha Sannyasa Yogaha. सर्वस्यैव गीताशास्त्रस्य अर्थः अस्मिन् अध्याये उपसंहृत्य सर्वश्च वेदार्थः वक्तव्यः इति एवम् अर्थः अयम् अध्यायः आरभ्यते। सर्वेषु हि अतीतेषु अध्यायेषु उक्तः अर्थः अस्मिन् अध्याये अवगम्यते। अर्जुनः तु संन्याससत्यागशब्दार्थयोः एव विशेषं बुभुत्सुः उवाच। In order to conclude here the contents of the entire science of the Gita, as well as those of the Vedas, Gita Shastrasya Arthaha, Vedarthaha is begun the present chapter. The ideas expressed in all the previous chapters may be grasped from this chapter alone. Sarveshu atiteshu adhyayeshu uktaha arthaha asmin adhyaye avagamyate. But Arjuna seeks to know the distinction between renunciation and relinquishment. Sannyasa tyaga shabda arthayoho eva vishesham bhubutsuhu uvacha. So he said, number one.
Arjun uvacha sannyasasya mahabaho tattvamichhami veditum tyagasya cha rishikesha prathakeshi nishudana.
So Arjuna said, Sannyasaha, renunciation. O mighty armed Lord, Tattvam Ichhami Veditum. I want to know that from you. Tyagasya, and the distinction between that and sannyasa and tyaga, relinquishment. O Rishikesha, slayer of Keshin, Prathak, I need to know that distinction. Keshi Nishudana. O mighty armed, I desire to know the truth of renunciation or the content of the term sannyasa, as also that of the term tyaga or relinquishment. I desire to know the distinction. Keshin was a demon disguised as a horse. The Lord Vasudeva slew him, so he is addressed as the slayer of Keshin. The terms renunciation and relinquishment have been employed in a number of passages in the previous chapters, but their meanings have not been clearly explicated. Hence, the Lord answered Arjuna who queried in order to give him a decision in this matter. Number two.
Shri Bhagavan uvacha kamyanam karmanam nyasam sannyasam kavayo viduhu sarva karma phalatyagam rahus tyagam vichakshanah.
Kamyanam karmanam nyasam. Kavayaha are poets or sages, very wise people. They know the giving up, the rejection of works prompted by desire. Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sannyasam. Experts declare, that is the vichakshanaha, sarva karma phalatyagam, giving up the fruits of all works as prahu tyagam. Works prompted by desire for their fruits may be exemplified by sacrifices like the Ashwamedha. The sense of the term renunciation is the relinquishment of such works. Some sages know that when an occasion for doing such work arises, in their non-performance consists renunciation. Experts, however, with special knowledge declare the relinquishment of the fruits of obligatory and occasional works, which is nitya and naimittika. Nitya naimittikanam anushtiyamananam sarvakarmanam atmasambandhitaya praptasya phalasya parityagah sarvakarma phalatyagah tam prapuhu. When they accrue to be tyaga, it is not a question of relinquishing desire-prompted works or the fruits of works in general. Where it's so, no clear-cut difference would emerge between renunciation and relinquishment, such as example, there exists between a pot and a cloth. Nanu, then there is an objection, etc. Let us go to 3.
Tyajyam dosha vidityeke karma prahurmanishinaha yajna dana tapah karma natyajyam iti chapare.
Tyajyam doshavad iti eke karma prahuhu manishina. Some intellectuals maintain that faulty work must be relinquished. But others, apare, that the work of yajna dana tapa karma should not be relinquished at all. Doshavat, because it has dosha. So let us go to number 4. This is very powerful verse and following.
निश्चयं शृणु मे तत्र त्यागे भरत सत्तम त्यागो हि पुरुष व्याघ्र त्रिविध संप्रकीर्तितः.
Nischayam shrunu. Listen to my decisive word. Me. Tatra. There. In reference to this point of tyaga, sacrifice. O best of the Bharatas. Tyago hi Purusha Vyagra. He is also extolled as the tiger among men. Trividaha Samprakiti. This threefold is the nature of this tyaga, relinquishment. So what is very nice, of course, is Bhagavan gives a definitive answer. So there is no doubt. And he's going to talk about the threefold, again, tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic. Okay. What is the decisive view? Kaha punaha asau nischayah iti aha. Number 5, please.
Yajnadana. Oh, yeah, English.
यज्ञदानतपः कर्म न त्याज्यं कार्यमेव तत् यज्ञो दानं तपश्चैव पावनानि
Manishinam, right. Yajna dana tapa karma na tyajyam. The work of sacrifice, gift giving, and penance should not be relinquished. It must necessarily be accomplished. It's for sacrifice, gift giving, and penance purify the wise men. Yajno danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. So, number 6.
एतानि अपि तु कर्माणि संगं त्यक्त्वा फलानि च कर्तव्यानिति मे पार्थ निश्चितं मतम् उत्तमम्.
Etanyapi tu karmani, and even these works, sangam tyaktva, must be done without attachment to the fruits, falani cha. Kartavyani, they must be done, iti, with that kind of attitude. That is the best way. Me partha nishchitam matam. This is my thinking. My firm and most valid decision is, even these works must be done without attachment to them and to their fruits. Then, number 7.
Niyatasya tu sannyasa karmano nopapadyate mohatasya parityaga astamasa parikirtitaha.
Right. Mohatasya parityagaha tamasaha parikirtita. Split the sandhi as parityaga and tamasa. So, niyatasya tu sannyasa. It is unreasonable to renounce obligatory work. Na upapadyate. Niyatasya tu sannyasa, niyatasya karmana. Those which are obligatory works, it does not make any sense. It's unreasonable to renounce them. Mohatasya parit. This is an account of delusion that this is given up, and it is called tamasic. So, for instance, those of you who are interested and having had the samskar, you commenced the Sandhyavandanam. Right? It is a niyata karmana, right? So, it's not given up. You see what he's saying? Yeah. The renunciation of obligatory works. Niyatasya tu nityasya sannyasah parityaga karmanah na upapadyate ajnasya pavanatvasya ishtatvat. Its relinquishment can only be due to delusion. That the obligatory work which inevitably be done is sought to be given up as a contradiction in terms. So its relinquishment is traced to delusion. Another simple, rubric, and let me see if you have questions. Do you have questions? Maybe we finish. Let's finish 7, 8, and 9 and stop for questions. 8, please.
दुःखमित्येव यत् कर्म कास्य क्लेशभयात् यजेत् स कृत्वा राजसं त्यागं नैव त्यागफलं लभेत्.
Right. Dukkham iti eva yat karma kaya klesha bhayat tyajit. So if one gives up a work because of the fact that it will cause bodily fatigue or due to bodily fatigue, if the work is given up as troublesome, it is difficult, that relinquishment, sakritva rajasam tyagam na eva tyaga phalam labhet, that the fruit of such relinquishment won't accrue to the agent. Okay. Number 9.
कार्यमित्येव यत् कर्म नियतं क्रियते अर्जुन संगम त्यक्त्वा फलं चैव सत्यागः सात्विको मतः.
Holding that work is to be done without break, O Arjuna, and giving up both attachment and fruit. The relinquishment entailed is deemed sattvic. Karyam iti. Suppose duty is performed without a break. Kartavyam iti. Eva yat karma niyatam nityam. Even though Shruti does not state that obligatory works yield fruits. Nityanam karmanam phalavat tve bhagavad vachanam pramanam avochama. So, I think when we were doing this Sandhya Vandanam exam, somebody asked this question, right? I think if you remember Krishnan, my uncle Chittappa, he said, by doing the Sandhya Vandanam, you don't get any benefit.
But without doing also, you don't accumulate any punya also.
No, without doing, you accumulate papam.
Oh, you accumulate papam, but
right. It's in the sense that you gain nothing by doing it, but you must do it. Right?
Yes.
That's the notion of the Nitya Karma. It is not as it is directed towards fruit, right? But suppose, even though the Shruti says that, suppose the nescient man imagines that their performance stores up right impressions or serves to ward off the sin of omission, right? Nityam karma kritam atma samskaram pratyavaya pariharam va phalam karoti atmana iti kalpayati eva ajnaha. Suppose that person thinks like that, even such an imagination has to be shunned according to this text. Tamapi kalpanam nivarayati phalam tyaktva ityanena. So this is a very, very high level of non-attachment, right? So this is the sattvic relinquishment, right? So any questions on what we have studied so far in this chapter or in previous chapter? They are quite connected.
I have one question about this. So we do different practices for to move towards to progress spiritually, but that is all oriented for the single goal. Is it? Then is it not the right attitude that we are always asking ourselves that we are progressing or not progressing?
You're questioning this attitude of am I progressing or not progressing?
Yeah, because here it says that you should just do it. You should not even think about these things.
Indeed. But it's a very high bar too. So the first thing I want to say is that this is a very, very high bar, in my opinion. So Bhagavan has given his opinion, and that is absolutely correct, right? But in our time and place that we are in, Deshkal Paristhiti of Kali Yuga, this is a very high bar. Yes or no? I mean, let's be practical. How many people do this? By this definition, how many people do you meet?
Almost no one.
It's very hard, right? I mean, if you look at the injunctions, what is expected of a Brahmana? If we look strictly, right? Trikala Sandhya, you must do Trikala Sandhya Vandam, right? If you're a Brahmachari, you must do Samhidhadanam. If you're a Grihasti, you must do Agnihotram or Upasanam, right? And on top of that, you must do the Pitru Karmas, Shannavati Shraddham, 96 Shraddhas through the year, right? Every Amavasya, you must do Homam with Shraddham. You must invite 3 Brahmins. You must feed them. This is the basic stuff, right? Then we have not talked yet about Darsha Paurnamasa, the sacrifices relating to that, right? And of course, in addition, all the samskaras. And of course, naturally, for all the Deva Pujas, right? So we have got Nitya Karma, Shraddha, Pitru Puja, Deva Puja, right? Like these Navaratris, Vratas, etc. Correct?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you are supposed to do, of course, extra Gayatri Japam. You know, you may take yoga as a discipline, sadhanas, because that is how the siddhas are satisfied in. We have so far got Bhur Bhuvasva, Mahajana Tapa, right? The perfected ones, the rishis, are satisfied only by meditation, right? So the prescribed life of a Brahmin in ideal situation or any other varna even is not easy, right? I would say that it's probably fairly rare in today's time and age to find somebody who can adhere to this 100%. Correct?
Yeah.
So it points to an ideal, right? But what is the attitude that Bhagavan is saying is that the first one is not to renounce what he calls obligatory work, right? And here, of course, he's talking about Nitya Karma, right? And the second one is to not, I mean, this is very common and it's not easy. I'm not trying to say that this is easy at all. I will share with you my own experience, okay? Mahalya Paksha comes, 16 days we would like to do Tarpana, okay? But it's not possible every day, sometimes. So you say, okay, let me at least do the Bharani. The day of Bharani Nakshatra is called Mahabharani. This is a very important day to do the Tarpanam. Prathama, of course, the commencement of the Shraddha Paksh, one should do Tarpanam. That is highly desirable. The Tithi of your father's passing is highly desirable. You must do Tarpanam on that day. And on the Amavasya, of course, of that, right? So you don't want to miss those 4, if you can, help it. Prathama, the Tithi of your father, Bharani, Mahabharani, and Amavasya, right? So ideally, you would like to do on all, but at least don't miss those 4, right? And you have, in our day and age, we have to make some adjustments. Like luckily for me, on Amavasya day, I was teaching actually at 12:40 or something. You want to do it in the Madhyahna Kalam, right? It should be properly done after 10:48, correct? So I still managed to do it. But what if you're teaching right at that time? Or what if you have a whole day commitment, right? Then you have to devise some upaya, right? So for instance, you may take a short break in the midst of your day for 15 minutes and do manasik, right? Or if you just have water, say you're traveling in a car, you have water bottle with you, right? Maybe you remember to take some tea with you. You can stop at a rest area and give, right?
Yes.
You may not be in your dhoti, but you can be in your pants, but you can still give water and tea, right? Or you forgot to take the tea, you can at least give water. Let's say you forgot to take water and tea, you can at least do manasik, right? So in this way, there have to be different gradations at which you can do the Nitya Karma, right? Or if you take the Sandhya Vandanam, if you're unable to do with Panchapatra Uddharani at the exact Sandhya Kal, maybe you can do in a Manasik way. You can say the mantras without the Panchapatra Uddharani. You may not be in the proper attire. Or if you don't even have the opportunity to say the mantras, you can at least do Gayatri Japa mentally, right? Etc. So there has to be a sliding scale to keep to them in spirit, even if not in letter, right? And what it does internally is it slowly inclines us to try and follow even in letter. This is what I have found. When you start doing it with sincere spirit, you somehow find ways to also engage in the letter of it, right? But everybody has to judge for themselves. This point, nobody can judge this for you, right? This is Bhagavan's words. We have to judge it for ourselves, right? Every day we have to only account to ourselves. You're accountable to yourself only, right? Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's not right for us to point finger at anybody and say this person is not doing or doing, because we don't know their circumstance, right? We have no idea what are the constraints on that person, right? But we can definitely evaluate ourselves, right? And we can ask ourselves, am I giving it up out of a delusion? I can tell you I have done that in my life. I have taken tamasic approach. Has it been also been given up because of troubled body? Yes. Rajasic also I have done. Okay. So I can tell you honestly in my admission that yes, I have both engaged in tamasic and rajasic tyagam. Sattvic, not much, but trying. This is my report card. Right? I'm being very honest with you. This is what I can say. But what Bhagavan has said is accurate. There's no doubt about it. I just feel it's a very high bar. Definitely something to aspire for, but my own report card is quite bad. Right. But I think by practicing sincerely, a little bit even, grace of God is very great. Right. His grace is so great that even with small little effort, he is very generous. This is what I can say. Yeah. So, any further questions?
So I had similar question. It is there in objection of second verse.
Oh, okay.
So the later verses kind of explain, but can you please summarize?
Which one? Which objection?
2.2 on page 550.
550. Acha, 2.2. Acha. Objection. Nanu nitya naimittikanam karmanam phalameva nasti iti ahu katham uchyate tesham phalatyagah yatha bandhayaha putratyaga bandhyayaha. Okay. Now the Purva Mimamsa maintains that obligatory and occasional works have no fruits of their own. The ones that I mentioned, right? Nitya Naimittika. Both the Nitya Karma and the Pitru Puja, etc. How then can one talk of relinquishing their fruits? It will be like a barren woman abandoning her son. Reply. Na eshaha doshaha. No, the Lord holds that even obligatory works yield fruits. See 18:12. Nityanam api karmanam bhagavata phalavat tu asya ishtatvat bhakshyasi hi bhagavan anishtam ishtam mishram cha iti in 1812 iti natu sanyasinam. These fruits do not accrue to the renunciants. Same one. Sanyasinameva hi kevalam. Thus, according to the fruits of such works accrue to the non-renunciants. Karma phala asambandham darshayan asanyasinam nitya karma phala prapti bhavati iti tyaginam pretya iti darshayati. Let us see 1812. The fruit of work is anishtam ishtam mishram cha trividam karmana phalam bhavati tyaginam pretya natu sanyasanam kvachit. This is there in Yoga Sutra also, which says that the fruits of work are threefold. There it is said Shukla, Krishna and Mishra, black, white and mixed. But there are no fruits that accrue to the yogi. Okay, so what does this mean? This means that as long as the trace of ignorance exists in the mind, and what is that trace of ignorance? That I am the doer. Aham karomi. Aham karomi iti ahankara, right? As long as that trace, because only then will you ask, will the fruits accrue to me or not? Do you see the point? Who will ask, will the fruits accrue to me? Only one who thinks he is doing. Yes or no? So what will happen in that situation? There he says there will be Shukla, Krishna or mixed. Those will result in what are thought of as punyam, papam or mixture. Correct? But what is the state of the mind of the sannyasina, the renunciate? That person is not seeing himself as doing the works at all. What is his thinking? Prakritehe kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvashaha. It is Prakriti that is the doer. I am not the doer. This mind is composed of sattva, rajas, tamas. Depending on the predominance of the gunas, work happens. Right? The work has its fruit. Right? But that fruit, how can it accrue to the one who never did it? He is seeing everything as Lord's play. Right? The power of the Lord through Shakti, whom we worship in the Navaratri, has given birth to the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. It has given birth to this mind. Because of one thinking this is my mind and my body, one thinks that the work that one has done through the body accrues to one. But that is what Bhagavan is saying is ignorance. So if one is ignorant, then the account book opens up and things tally up. Punyam, papam, etc. If one doesn't even open the account book, then that person is simply a transparent medium through which the Lord's work flows. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? As long as one has the account book, then definitely based on the balance of credit and debit, punyam and papam, the jiva will leave the body and go to the next loka. Having done punya, it will ascend to Swargalok. There it will enjoy all the delights of the devas and the lords. When that punya is exhausted, it will fall back again. Right? But when the person has listened to the nectar-like words of the Gita, then they will realize that, yes, those works have to be done. We do those works. Right? But not with the desire of attaining the realm of Swarga, because from there will be a fall again. Right? So one seeks the northern path. That's what Bhagavan is saying. Right? Don't get trapped in good and evil is what Bhagavan is saying. Do good, but don't get trapped in it. That is the distinguishing feature of Hinduism from the Abrahamic and other religions. You see, there is always good and evil, us and the other. Right? The other is never integrated completely into the one. So it becomes Dvaita always. Two. Good and evil. In our thing, in final liberation, all the evil also becomes one with the, right? Again and again and again. When Bhagavan kills the evildoer sees that I am nothing, Lord, it is only you who have come to liberate me. And the Asura sacrifices completely. If you look at, you listen to our great verses, Aditim cha ditim deeptam, what is that? Lakshmi, Ashtotram, right? Aditim cha ditim. Diti and Aditi are the mothers of, respectively, the Daityas and the Devas, right? The same light, same power appears in both. Whichever one is fed more, that one dominates, right? So the injunction here is probably also to not feel that great a virtue in doing those nitya karmas, right? But yet don't fall off from them, right? Because when one is young, the mind can think, what is all this, right? All endless ritual, so much ritual, right? What is the point of all this? Yes, one may ask. But the question is, what are you doing when you're not doing the ritual? Are you sitting and eating peanuts and watching a movie? Yes or no? Right? Or reading comic book? Depends. Right? If the mind is in samadhi, oh sure, then don't attend any ritual. Definitely. You don't need to. Do you agree with me? Right? But if one is picking one's nose, drinking tea, gupshupping, then definitely the guy who's doing ritual is doing a better job, right? On the other hand, if you're doing the ritual, but your mind is always on the movie you're going to watch in the evening, or, who's going to call on the cell phone, right? That's also not recommended, right? That's why Bhagavan very famously said, to the Brahmin who knows the Vedas are useless. To the one who doesn't know the Vedas are also useless. Jokingly, he meant that, so the idea is do the best that in your mind, you write up your report account every evening, every day, and you decide, what should I do? Bhagavan has said what he has to say. Does that make sense? Okay. So we are almost at time, a little over actually. Maybe next time we can pick up the number 10 onwards, and it is a very beautiful chapter, very lovely, very full of wisdom, and a lot of delightful things, and a summary of all the previous chapters. So we'll enjoy finishing it and coming to a conclusion of our Gita study. Any further questions before we wind up?
I have just one remark from this last discussion.
Sure.
I mean, it seems like when you say that this perception that I am doing it results indeed in the fruits being accrued to me, which as if the delusion is generating more delusion.
No, not really. That's a dangerous thing to say, because doing them does purify the mind, right? Chitta Shuddhi, doing all the Nitya karmas progressively is purifying the mind. right? Let us take the beginning aspirant, right? Beginning, the aspirant maybe says, I'm doing Sandhya Vandanam, I'm doing something good. So, but all said and done, it takes that much reading to come to this chapter, right? Don't you agree?
Ji.
That's okay. Let the person at least start, right? We all have to start somewhere, right? So there is no fault in starting anywhere, right? Even baby steps, start. And then as the practice deepens, then there is definitely purification. Maybe you can hear from our friends who have been practicing Sandhya Vandanam in our group. We have 2 of them here. What do you feel? What are your, give me your honest. If it's not, it's not. Whatever you feel. You're not compelled to say anything prescribed. Free sharing. Honest.
I mean, at least before the mind used to wander a lot, Professor. It's controlled from the time I started doing it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Regulation and at least more questions, but still like more towards the real thing rather than the, like changing things.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think, maybe when I first started it, there were obviously some desires, right? And those that the desires can be like, if it's a desire for liberation, that might be a good thing, but I don't know, so obviously you are doing it because you want to gain something,
Mm-hmm.
which is, not good according to Bhagavan. It's tamasic. but the more you do it, it's, I think for me, at least it's not because you want something, or it's just part of, just like you eat every day. It's just, you're just doing it,
That's a fantastic evolution of thinking. Yes. It's like eating or breathing. Perfectly. Perfect.
I mean, I'm not expecting any miracles, but since I've been doing it every day, it's just like a habit.
That's fantastic. That's a beautiful attitude. Yeah. It becomes enjoyable.
Right.
In time. And like any habit, you miss it if you break it. Right? So, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. So anyway, very nice discussion. Thank you for the question, Shalabh. And it's important to have these genuine, heartfelt questions. We can definitely discuss more. That's the whole point, right? To discuss people's practical experiences, right? Not only the abstract, but practical feeling, right? There is nothing wrong in setting into Sandhya Vandanam first saying, I hope I get some focus. Maybe I'll get some peace of mind. Maybe it will purify. Nothing wrong. Start with that. Why not? Start with that, right? You don't have to constantly flagellate yourself that I don't have the highest intention. There's nothing wrong with that. Just start is the idea, right? Anything, any practice. You don't have to beat yourself that I don't have the highest intention. These are the gold standard, Bhagavan has said, right? But when you start practicing for Olympics, let's say, are you planning to win the gold? No. How do these people go and practice? First they say, let me qualify, for God's sake. Let me qualify, right? Then you qualify, then you go and win a bronze maybe, if you're lucky, right? And of course, you don't get too many chances in the Olympics. It happens only once in 4 years, unfortunately. But, nobody goes in there the first time expecting to win the gold. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
They go in there with the intention. I'll ask you now, what do they go into there with? What is the intention the coach expects of them?
To win the gold.
No. Do your best that day. Yes or no? This is what a good coach expects. This is what I expect of my students. In your heart, did you do your best? Did you give it everything? That's what matters. So if you approach your practice that way every day, did I give my best? You'll win the goal. The goal will come naturally. It will come as a consequence of your doing your best every day. That is the difference. Now you see the goal orientation is different. Anyway, hopefully that was helpful. Acha, I'll say Dhyana Shlokam and we'll conclude. Acha. Om Tacham Jora Vrinimahe Gatum Yajnayam Gatum Yajnapataye Daivihi Swastirastunaham Swastirmanushebhyaham Urdhvam Jigatu Bheshajam Shanno Astu Dvipadehe Sham Chatushpade Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste everyone. Have a lovely evening. Enjoy Navratri. See you next weekend.
Namaste.
Yeah.